Hello friend, today I will talk about the new act, that is Bhartiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023, which has been recently passed by Parliament, and it has been replaced by CRPC. Today I will discuss in short about this act. In fact, this is a procedural criminal law. In this act, there are 39 chapters, and chapter 1 has discussed about preliminary, and under section 1 to 5 has been given in this chapter. Chapter 2 talk about the constitution of criminal courts and offices, and section number 6 to 20 has been given in this chapter. Chapter 3 talks about the power of courts. What are the power of the courts? It has been discussed in this chapter, and section number 21 to 29 has been discussed under this chapter. Chapter 4 talks about powers of superior officers of police and aid to the magistrate and the police. Under this chapter, section 30 to 34 has been discussed. Now, chapter 5 discussed about the arrest of persons. Procedure of arresting of persons has been explained in this chapter, and section 35 to 62 has been discussed under this chapter. Chapter number 6 talks about process to compel appearance, and section number 63 to 93 has been discussed under this chapter. Now, chapter number 7 talks about processes to compel the production of things, and section 94 to 110 has been discussed under this chapter. Now, chapter number 8 has discussed about the reciprocal arrangements for assistance in certain matters and procedure for attachment and forfeitures of property. Section number 111 to section number 143 has been discussed under this chapter. Now, chapter number 10 discussed about the order for maintenance of wives, children and parents, and there are 4 sections. Section number 144 to 147 have been discussed under this chapter. Now, chapter number 11 talks about the maintenance of public order and tranquility, and section number 148 to 167 has been discussed under this chapter. Now, chapter number 12 talks about preventive action of the police. Section number 168 to 172 have been discussed under this chapter. Now, chapter number 13 talks about information to the police and their powers to investigate, and section number 173 to 196 has been discussed under this chapter. Now, chapter number 14 talks about jurisdiction of the criminal courts in inquiries and trials. Chapter number 197 to 209 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 15 talks about conditions requisite for initiation of proceedings. Now section number 210 to 222 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 16 talks about complaints to magistrate, and section number 223 to 226 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 17 talks about commencement of proceedings before magistrate, and section number 227 to 233 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 18 talks about the charges, and section number 234 to 247 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 19 talks about trial before a court of session, and section number 248 to section number 260 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 20 talks about trial of warrant cases by magistrates, and section number 261 to 273 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 21 discussed about trial of summons cases by magistrates, and section number 274 to 282 has been discussed about this chapter. Now chapter number 22 talks about summary trials, and section number 283 to 288 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 23 talk about plea bargaining, and section 289 to 300 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 24 talks about attendance of persons confined or detained in prisons. Talks about and under this chapter section number 301 to 306 has been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 25 chapter number 25 talks about evidence in inquiries and trials, and section number 307 to 336 have been discussed under this chapter, and chapter number 26 talks about general provisions as to inquiries and trials, and section number 337 to 366 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 27 talks about provisions as to accused persons of unsound mind, and section number 367 to 378 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 28 talks about provisions as to offences affecting the administration of justice, and section 379 to 391 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 29 talks about the judgment, and section 392 to 406 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 30 talks about submission of death sentence for confirmation, and section number 407 to 1, 2 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 31 talks about appeals, and section number 413 to 435 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 32 talks about reference and revision, and the section number 436 to 445 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 37 talks about transfer of criminal cases, and the section number 446 to 452 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 34 talks about execution, suspension, remission, and documentation of sentences, and section number 453 to 477 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 35 talks about provisions as to bail and bonds, and section number 478 to 496 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 36 talks about disposal of property, and section number 497 to 505 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 37 talks about irregular proceedings, and section number 506 to 512 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 37 talks about limitation for taking cognizance of certain offences, and section number 513 to 519 have been discussed under this chapter. Now chapter number 39 talks about miscellaneous, and section number 520 to 531 have been discussed under this chapter. It means there are total 531 sections are there, and there are total 39 chapters have been available in this act, and all the criminal procedures have been discussed under this new past act, that is called the Bhartiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023.